The storm passed fast. Over the next few weeks, headlines exploded with news of the takedown. The company's name was cleared, and Ethan stepped forward with a public statement, admitting to internal failings but vowing a full restructure. Mia disappeared from the spotlight, her real name never released. She had done her job, and more. Later, they met one last time quietly at a cafe far from the city. No suits, no files. Just two people who had played a dangerous game and survived it. "I guess you were never just the assistant," Ethan said with a grin. "And you were never just the CEO," Mia replied. Then they parted ways, both changed, both aware that sometimes the truth hides in plain sight. Security footage was reviewed, login records checked. Still, he had no proof, but he watched Mia more closely now, the way she asked questions, the way she seemed to know things before anyone told her. It was too much to be coincidence. He didn't confront her. Not yet. But he started locking his files, changing passwords, keeping conversations short. The office tension was thick, like everyone felt a shift coming but didn't know from where. Then came the emergency board meeting. No agenda, no warning. Just an urgent call from one of the company's oldest investors. Whispers of fraud, irregularities, and internal leak echoed through the halls. Mia sat quietly outside the glass conference room, pretending to scroll her phone. But she knew this was it, the moment everything would tip. Inside, Ethan scanned the room, trying to read every face. He didn't know who had turned against him, but he had a sinking feeling it had started the day he hired her. Just as the boardroom discussion reached its boiling point, Ethan's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number flashed across the screen. Asterisk, check the media inbox. Clock's ticking. Asterisk, he excused himself, heart pounding, and rushed back to his office. When he opened the inbox, his blood ran cold. There it was, a full report detailing the hidden transactions, the shell companies, even email transcripts he thought had been deleted. Attached was a draft of a press release, already prepped by a journalist. Someone had leaked everything. At the same time, Mia received a call from a blocked number. A voice, calm, female, and familiar, warned, asterisk, "They know you're not just the assistant anymore. Walk carefully." Asterisk, Mia froze. It wasn't just Ethan watching her. Someone else was watching asterisk, both asterisk of them. Later that evening, while the office cleared out and the building went quiet, Mia snuck into Ethan's office with one goal: access the offline drive she had discovered hidden behind his desk. But just as she reached for it, the door opened. Ethan stood there, silent, holding a document. Her shareholder file, the one listing her as a primary investor under an alias. "You've been playing a long game," he said, voice low. She didn't answer. Then, another twist. Ethan tossed the document on the table and said, "You're not the only one undercover here." Before Mia could respond, alarms blared across the floor. Someone had triggered a breach. And now they were both targets. The sirens echoed through the building as red lights flashed across the walls. Security scrambled, unsure of what was happening. While Ethan and Mia stood frozen in the tension of a truth neither had fully prepared for. She stared at him, trying to process what he'd just said, that he, too, wasn't exactly who he claimed to be. Ethan stepped closer and pulled out a second folder, this one stamped with a government seal. "I've been working with a federal task force," he said. "They've been investigating a silent group of investors using major companies like ours to launder money." He looked her dead in the eyes. "And your name popped up more than once." Mia's heart dropped, not from guilt, but from realization. "I wasn't laundering," she said slowly. "I was tracking it. For them." She reached into her coat and handed him a small badge. She wasn't just an investor. She was an undercover financial analyst planted by another agency, investigating the very same crime ring. For a moment, everything stopped. Both had been hunting the same target, from different sides, in different ways. The alarms, not an accident. The real culprits, the silent partners behind the illegal funds, had caught wind that both of them were close. And now, they were wiping servers and disappearing fast. Ethan looked at Mia. "We have one shot to take them down." She nodded. "Then let's finish what we started." But just as they moved, a third figure stepped from the shadows, someone neither of them expected. The figure stepped into the light. It was Marcus, the company's trusted CFO. For years he had stood quietly beside Ethan, signing documents, managing finances, and keeping everything smooth on the surface. But now his expression was calm, cold. "I warned you both to stay out of this," he said, pulling a small flash drive from his coat. "But you couldn't help yourselves." Before he could move again, security burst through the doors. Mia and Ethan had already triggered a silent alert on their way in, sending the agency their exact location. Within seconds, Marcus was surrounded and detained, the flash drive secured before it could disappear. Inside it were files connecting him to dozens of fake companies, hidden accounts, and a network of corrupt investors spanning multiple firms. He thought she was just another applicant, quiet, polite, with a resume that didn't scream anything special. The CEO of a fast-growing tech firm had interviewed dozens of assistants that week, but something about her calm confidence made him say yes. She didn't push, didn't brag. In fact, she seemed almost too simple for the job. But that's what he wanted. Someone who would handle the basics, stay in the background, and let him run the show. What he didn't know was, she was watching everything. Behind those thoughtful eyes and steady tone, she was far more than an assistant. She had a secret, one worth millions. While others in the office whispered about office gossip and bonus checks, she was quietly taking notes on company operations, decisions, and every move the CEO made. But not to report him, not to bring him down. She was doing it because she had a stake in the company's future he didn't even know about. Days turned into weeks, and she played her role perfectly, answering emails, managing his schedule, and keeping a low profile. No one suspected a thing, not even him. But every now and then, she'd say something, a suggestion, an insight, that made the CEO pause. How did she know that? He'd wonder. What happens when the boss finds out his humble assistant holds more power than anyone in the boardroom? That's where everything starts to shift, and nothing is ever the same again. Before she ever stepped into that office, Mia had done her homework. Not just the usual kind, this was deeper. She'd studied the company's history, watched its stock trends, memorized the CEO's public interviews, and quietly bought shares under a different name. While the world saw a quiet assistant fetching coffee and printing reports, Mia was actually one of the company's silent investors, and not just any investor. She held enough stock to influence boardroom decisions, if she ever chose to speak up. But she didn't, not yet. Ethan, the CEO, was sharp, ruthless when needed, and known for trusting no one. He built his empire from the ground up, and he didn't let just anyone into his inner circle. But lately, he'd noticed how Mia always seemed one step ahead. She'd remind him of meetings he almost missed, catch small details others overlooked, and even subtly point out red flags in contracts before the legal team caught them. It was starting to bug him, but also intrigue him. The team dismissed her as just the assistant, but Ethan couldn't shake the feeling there was more to her. He began testing her, asking vague questions, throwing in false leads. She handled each one like she saw it coming. Still, she kept her smile, still played the part. What Ethan didn't know was that Mia hadn't taken this job to work for him. She took it to watch him, because something inside this company didn't add up, and Mia was here to find out why. It started with a missing file. A routine investor report Ethan had personally reviewed, gone. At first he blamed his team. Then quietly, he began to wonder if someone inside the office was digging deeper than they should. Meanwhile, Mia noticed something too. Numbers weren't lining up. Revenue reports looked clean on paper, but there were subtle inconsistencies, slight enough to slip past most, but not her. She knew how real money moved, and something told her Ethan wasn't being completely honest about the company's finances. Mia kept playing her role, but her nights were different now. She stayed late, not just to help Ethan, but to look through systems she wasn't supposed to access. She found encrypted emails, shadow partners, and large transfers made to unfamiliar accounts. Every piece pointed to a deeper secret, one that could destroy the company if it came to light. Ethan, on the other hand, had begun asking questions about Mia. He asked HR to pull her background again, checked her references, even called a contact from her previous job. But what he found didn't match the person in his office. Too clean, too perfect, like someone had covered her tracks. The closer he looked, the more confused he became. Meanwhile, boardroom whispers began to rise. Investors were asking questions. A few key figures had suddenly gone quiet, and through it all, Mia smiled, took notes, and waited. She wasn't the only one hiding something, but she might be the only one ready to expose it. Mia wasn't sleeping much anymore. The deeper she got, the more dangerous it felt. She'd found a string of offshore transactions linked to a holding company that didn't officially exist, at least not on any of the public records. But the trail led straight back to Ethan's inner circle. The same men who smiled during board meetings and praised quarterly earnings were quietly moving money, shielding deals, and hiding losses. This wasn't just mismanagement, it was deception at the highest level, and Ethan knew someone was close to uncovering it.